how much debt you're trying to chase down, whether or not you're in a foreclosure or a bankruptcy or whatever the case may be, how much um, free time you have, what kind of job you do, and how often you got to be at that job versus whether or not you can operate that from a computer or whatever. There's a lot of different variables that happens in your life where your lifestyle and my lifestyle are not the same. I found these things, and I think that they'll be beneficial for the largest majority of individuals. That while this could be better, it is not actually going to work for everyone because there's going to be some people who don't have enough money to put down on a brokerage account. There's going to be some individuals that don't have enough money for a savings account. There's going to be some individuals who got too many bills and they're not willing to reduce their standard of living to a cheaper standard of living, and they just don't have an extra dollar left over. So based on life choices, the recommendations and referrals that comes from a different individual is not going to always benefit you, and that's what today's show is about. Now, after we finish talking to you guys Thursday, Friday, and Saturday about how to improve yourself, personal development, networking, relationships, business improvements with raises, promotion negotiations, severance packages, and even early retirement, and then our questions and comments from the fans on Sundays, we dive ourselves right into the show and start talking about the major issues that impact your ability to be financially successful. And with that being said, if you were to think about how your neighbor would pull you into their scenario, and just imagine, like, say your neighbor pulls into the driveway with a brand new car, and it's one that you were just looking at online, that perfect blend of luxury and performance, and it catches your eye as they get out, right? A huge grin on their face. They smiling, they grinning because they got theirs, right? And they give you a friendly wave and call you over. And this is when it gets you involved in their situation. Just decided to go for it, right? You know how it is. You know, you work hard, you deserve to treat yourself too. That's what you hear from your neighbor. Is that friendly advice? That seemingly inconsistent comment is one of the biggest traps that everybody gets caught up in. And it's secretly making you broke. How many times have you felt that sudden pain of envy, followed by a nagging thought that maybe you do deserve an upgrade, a new car, a bigger house, that amazing vacation? Everyone on your social media feed seems to be on whatever it is that you wish you could get on. And it's a feeling that washes over you, right? A mix of desire and anxiety, and it feels totally natural. But what if I told you that feeling is by design? That casual chat across the lawn isn't just a conversation, it's a trigger for one of the most powerful and destructive financial forces in our lives: social comparison. I try to tell you guys to avoid this at all costs, but it will spark that uh, uh, ignition, something that we call lifestyle creep. It's a slow and silent process that pushes you into debt and drains your savings and dials up your financial anxiety until you feel like you're constantly struggling no matter how much you earn. And that's why I tell you that a lot of the financial advice I give you guys, it benefits the majority of individuals, but it does require to make some different lifestyle choices. I can tell you guys how to find the right stocks. I can even put the right stocks up on the screen for you, but then you have to be able to rebudget yourself so that you can afford to put money towards those stocks. You have to be able to readjust yourself so that you can afford to invest in that health savings fund. You have to be able to put more money into that life insurance policy. If you're trying to build a trust, trusts are not free. You can build a low asset trust, a simplistic trust for a few $100s. But when the trust starts getting more complex, such as how does assets get added to it, how do you add beneficiaries to it, what stipulations that they have to fulfill in order to qualify for compensation, all of these things have to be done from within. And that's not going to always be free. You're going to be spending $350 per consultation to talk to a trust attorney to make sure that the legal verbiage is correct. You can have a little bit of a template there, but in order for you to make it legitimate enough where it can be enforceable by law, you have to put yourself in a financial position to afford to pay for the maintenance to update it. Then, because even if you are in a revocable trust at first, when you pass, it turns into a non-revocable trust. Somebody's got to have a copy of the non-revocable trust so that they can exercise the utilization of your assets. And the wild part is that trustee that inherits your non-revocable trust, that trustee cannot be a beneficiary. It's got to be a third party that has no interest in the trust, which then means that as a third party, they're getting a fee. Their fee comes out of your assets. So you have to be able to have enough capital in the trust to be able to cover the annual service fees for trustee, because they're going to be handling everything, the taxation, they're going to be handling the probably even the cost of repairs on the property and everything, so that everything that needs to be managed on the trust will be managed by the trustee. And you got to be able to afford that stuff. So we give a lot of advice about a lot of different things, but at the same time, your money might not be in that spot. So while it looks good on paper, you have to research your situation and then research that situation and see if they mesh together. So on tonight's show, we're going to pull back yet another curtain on a social trap. We're not just going to talk about budgeting or saving a little more. We do that all the time. We're going to dissect the illusion of wealth, expose the hidden cost of keeping up with the Joneses, and then show you the psychological tricks that your friends, your family, and your social media feeds are playing on your wallet. Most importantly, we're going to give you real, actionable framework to break free and build genuine wealth, and finally find peace on your own financial journey. So make sure that you stick around throughout the show, because woo, it's going to be a long show. I just seen that. Oh my goodness. But what you're about to learn next will change how you look at your neighbor, your finances, and yourself forever. Now, let's go back to that neighbor and their shiny new car. Sits in the driveway, a gleaming symbol of success. Looks like wealth, right? Feels like wealth, right? Our brains are wired to see that car and instantly create a story around it. This is a lot of times what the gold digger mentality is about. A story of success, financial freedom, and having it all at your fingertips. But here's the uncomfortable truth. That story almost always leaves out what you see is rarely the full picture. More often than not, you aren't looking at wealth. You're looking at debt, lots of it. We live in a society that has mastered the art of faking it until you make it. The pressure to project an image of success is very huge, and the tools to do it have never been easier to get. That new car, likely financed with a long-term loan, extra long-term loan, because you didn't get a 3 to 5 year loan. You got that 7 to 10 year loan to make the payment smaller, right? That beautiful kitchen renovation your friend just posted on Instagram is probably sitting on a home equity line of credit or a high interest credit card. That pressure to live up to these curated standards can drive people directly into debt traps, forcing them to take on more debt just to maintain a certain lifestyle. That's one of the reasons why I give you guys all of this information about how you can get the same quality of lifestyle or better in cheaper countries. Because this is a situation that can quickly become impossible to escape. Now, the numbers are going to tell a story that's far less glamorous than the one on the surface. Many people are feeling financially stretched. For instance, one 2025 survey, this just recently came out, found that 72% of US employees are at least somewhat stressed about their finances, with 53% saying their savings have actually decreased over the past year. So between 2024 and 2025, when that survey happened, they've been losing money. Their top regret often include not saving enough, impulse spending, and carrying high interest credit card debt. When we first started talking about debt, Michael used to preach to us to have your money under 30%, have your credit card limits under 30%. And that's better than having them at 99%. But after I crunched the numbers and did a show on credit card debt, now I was like, you should probably have your credit limits below 10%, because that's actually going to give you a better credit score. And the closer you get to 1%, the better you are, because even if it's a 30% interest rate, 30% interest rate on $1 is 30 cents. But 30% interest rate on $10,000, it's like $300, $300 extra dollars. They make money off the interest. Right? Think about that. The biggest financial regrets are the direct results of trying to live a life you can't quite afford. And it's a cycle of spending to feel good. Michael had told us once before about paying off all of your debt and then canceling all your credit cards, but that puts you in a cash only position. It doesn't always work. If you need extra money for any reason, relying on those credit cards is a good fallback plan. It's a first ditch fallback plan before you rely on your savings account. Because if you have a financial issue that, you got to pay attention to when the cutoff date is on your credit cards. But if you have multiple credit cards, you have multiple credit card cutoff dates. And whichever one that's not rolling over this week, if you've got a financial emergency this week, you can charge it to that card and push that payment for 3 weeks and pay that payment in at the end of the month. So say you got a flat tire this weekend, your credit card rolls over on Friday, but you got another credit card doesn't roll over until next week Friday. You can actually charge it to your credit card this week for the one that rolls over next week Friday. You can make a payment on that card by next week Monday. It'll clear next week Thursday, and it will show that your card is at an acceptable balance by next week Friday, and you still are looking at 0.01% utilization on your credit limits. It allows you to still operate seemingly cash only, but it also allows you to put a little bit of a delay. What if you've got to spend a lot of money in a short period of time? Depending on what your credit limit looks like, you could probably, right after your credit card rolls over, hit 90% of your credit limit, charging a lot of stuff to your credit limit, as long as you have enough money to pay it back. Now, that delays your purchase payment requirement for at least 3 weeks. if you're trying to keep your card low. If you only had like 75% of the cost of whatever it is you were trying to buy, you can actually put 75% on the card and bring the price of the card back down. And then when it rolls over, you only owe 25% of which you can catch the following month, which allows you to split the payments up. But you're actually paying off the card within 60 days, not 6 years. Big difference. The ability to keep a lifestyle that you can't afford only makes you feel worse than when the bills arrive. So this is going to be the great illusion of our time. Wealth isn't what you spend, it is what you keep. The assets you own, the investments that are growing for you, and the lack of debt that gives you the freedom, but all of that is still invisible to everybody else. You can't see your neighbor's retirement account balance. You can't see their fully funded emergency fund. You can't see the peace of mind that comes from being debt free. Michael preaches about being debt free. You can't see that on a regular basis. All you see is the expensive car in the driveway. And that's the trap. So the widespread feeling has been given a name: money dysmorphia. It's not a formal clinical disorder, but a term to describe feeling financially insecure, and even if you're stable, a feeling fueled by the unrealistic comparison on social media and in the lives of your neighbors. So you might be doing everything right, saving, investing, paying down debts, but you feel broke because your life doesn't look like the highlight reels on those social media pages around you. The reality is, even high earners are struggling. One recent study found that 44% of people earning over $100,000 a year are still living paycheck to paycheck, where their income went up, but so did their spending, leaving them on a financial treadmill, running faster, faster, and faster, just to stay in the same place. Now, remember when I told you guys about a month ago about how two people with a $30,000 a year income can make it to a $500,000 in 10 years, almost $1 million in 20, where 18% dividend return could potentially be giving you back 100% of your standard of living 10 years in, and double that 20 years in. If two people who were individually living a $30,000 a year lifestyle come together and now they're living a $30,000 or $45,000 a year lifestyle together and putting the other 15,000 away, they can build enough of a lifestyle in 10 to 15 years that will cover 100% of their lifestyle. They hang in there for another 5 or 10 more years so that they can double that lifestyle. And that means that you're putting 20 to 25 years into your future where you're not living from paycheck to paycheck. You have a buffer, right? So the first and most important step to breaking free is to change your perception. When you see that new car or that big house, you train yourself to ask a different question. Instead of asking, how can I get that? Ask, how did they really pay for that? And more importantly, what is the hidden cost to their long-term freedom? And ladies, this right here for y'all. I'm talking to the fellas, but this for y'all. When y'all look at that dude with the flashy outfit on and the expensive jewelry and the expensive car, sweetheart, you need to be sitting here looking at how much of that on monthly payments. Then when you go to the house, ooh, big lavish house. You're not impressed about the house. You're concerned about the mortgage, if there is one. A mortgage gives him more security than rent, Because you understand, as long as he's paying rent, the next month that his landlord decides to terminate the lease for no reason at all, he ain't got nowhere to stay. But if he's got a mortgage, as long as the bill is being paid, he's always got a place to stay. And that's going to be a huge turnaround. So now when you're looking at a dude, you're not looking at a dude like, how much money do you make on your job? What kind of job do you do? Bro, you could be scrubbing toilets at a Wendy's, bro. But if you own your own house and you own your own car and you're not wasting a bunch of money on extra jewelry and tattoos and all kinds of other stuff that does not turn over any money, and you're building a financial nest egg where you have emergency funds in case you have to take time off from work for an injury, sickness, or anything to that effect, and you start building extra money for vacations so that you can take long-term leave from work and rest and rejuvenate, and you're building long-term budgets for your retirement health, which allows you to set up more money for your success. These are the things that people don't talk about. These are the things that people don't do, right? And that's one of the reasons why a lot of people are burning a candle at both ends and still don't got nothing to turn for. So when you go look at this dude, like he's willing to spend $500 on you on the first date, you think to yourself, oh, wow, he's dreaming. He spent a bunch of money. You just think, well, if I go out with him 3 times a month, that's $1,500 a month. He's spending $15,000 in 10 months just to entertain a stranger. And if that was your money he was spending to do that with, you got to ask yourself, is that the kind of person that I want to split my income with? When you ask them that, then they're going to be like, hell no. Nah. But see, when you're benefiting from it and it ain't impacting you, you good, because his household is hurt $15,000 every 10 months, $45,000 in 30 years that he just gave away to people he didn't know. But when you are in his household where you got to cover the difference of what he not spending, that's when you start changing your mind. Like, oh, hell no, I'm not about to get no dude that's spending $500 a month on no first date, because shit, that show that he wasteful on the first date, right? True wealth isn't about impressing your neighbors or the person you're dating. It's about not having to worry about money at all. It is about having options. It is about building a life that is truly yours, not a fragile imitation of someone else's, financed by debt that you will be paying off for years, decades, generations. The Joneses next door that you're trying to keep up with, they aren't as happy or as wealthy as you think they are. Research consistently shows that materialism is linked to lower well-being. The chase itself is the source of the unhappiness. So you get a raise. You worked hard for it. You put in them hours, and finally, your boss recognizes your value. You might be the last person on the clock to get a raise. The first paycheck with the new higher numbers hits your bank account, and it feels amazing, especially now with all the extra overtime hours being non-tax. The first thought for many people right now during tax season in 2026, I deserve this. Time for an upgrade. You're about to rebuild your old school caddy. You're about to buy you a new car, trade in the old one, and start paying notes. You're about to buy a house that costs more than the rent that you're paying already. You're about to go buy you a bunch of new clothes. You're about to run out there and go and grab a bunch of new toys and gadgets and everything to that effect. And the reason why you're doing that is because you have extra discretionary spending and you want to impulse buy to satisfy yourself. But that's not the way to do it. We have, for example, the gentleman that just jumped in here asking people about XRP. That's a bad neighbor. You don't invest at all in XRP. You're not going to financially benefit from it. It's a waste of time. And if you join my membership, you'll see I did a whole article about how bad it is for you to put your money towards XRP. But they think it's funny to come in and give you information about something that's not going to benefit you because it doesn't affect them. They get a laugh out of the fact that they put it into the comment section, trolling the comment section and telling you to be responsible, right? And when you're thinking about the nicer apartment, upgrading it to a newer neighborhood, putting your kids in private school, finally getting that more expensive car, maybe just dining out at fancier restaurants without checking the price tag, or buying more expensive meats with the cook at home. This right here is going to be that gateway. This is the start of what's known as lifestyle creep or lifestyle inflation. It's one of the most sneaky financial traps because it doesn't feel like a trap. It feels like progress. We're doing better. We're no longer in a crime-ridden neighborhood. Now we're in an upscale gated community. We're doing better at life, but it costs us twice as much to live here. It costs us twice as much to live like this. We was doing good where we was. We had a good relationship with the landlord and everything. We've been tenants with the landlord since the landlord bought the property. Now you're going to an HOA where you don't get along with the HOA, but this is progress, right? It's going to feel like you just enjoying the fruits of your labors. And lifestyle creep is the gradual increase in your spending as your income grows. The danger is how slowly and quietly it happens. So, what was once a luxury, like weekly takeout, slowly becomes a necessity in your mind. Your baseline for normal shifts upward. And before you know it, your entire paycheck is consumed by this new, more expensive lifestyle. You're earning more money than ever before, but you feel just as broke because your financial obligations have grown right along with your income. Let's say you got your favorite restaurant that you dine at. It's $50 a plate. And you always go here at least 3 times a week, right? You get that promotion and now you're going there every night. You don't have to cook dinner. You bring you something home, take out or whatever, and then you're not cooking at the house. Your refrigerator only has a few drinks in it here and there and a couple snacks, but not really nothing tangible. Maybe a couple microwavable meals or whatever, but you mostly eat out. You find that you're spending almost $2,000 a month leaving the house. Back in the day, before you got that $2,000 increase in income, you used to cook at the house on a regular basis. That lifestyle creep, yeah, you're living it up now. But you got to live it up in a better way, because not only are you going to start eating out at the restaurants, you got to look nice when you go out. So now you're buying more expensive clothes so that you can look nice when you go out every day. All of this stuff costs you extra money. Okay. And while your obligations have grown right alongside your income, you're now stuck on a financial treadmill. And why do we do this? The reasons are deeply psychological. It's at the core, and it's driven by social comparison. So as humans, we have an innate need to measure our own worth. And when we can't measure it objectively, we look to those around us. The value of your house is however much the last 5 houses in the last 90 days have been sold. So if 5 houses that are similar to your house have been sold for 400 grand, your house can be sold for 400 grand. So that's what your house's value is. Yeah. As people, our value is based off of the number of successful people around us. Even though we don't have all the same occupations, we don't have the same lifestyle choices, but we judge the stuff that the people that we can see around us have in comparison to what we have, and then we decide, are we as well off as the other people in our general vicinity? It's going to be a survival mechanism left over from our tribal ancestors. Fitting in with the group meant safety and resources. So in a modern world, this instinct has been hijacked. Now, fitting in means having what your peers have. And we used to do this when we were kids. We had to have name brand clothes because the other kids in the school had them. We had to have name brand shoes because the other kids in the school had them. And if we didn't, we would get picked on, and then we wouldn't have any friends at school, and we would be mad at our parents. We would get jobs at younger ages. We'd waste our money on expensive things so that we could show off to the other kids at school that we bought our own this, that, and the third. We didn't even have an allowance, and we're rushing to be the first one in our friend group to have a car so that everybody can gawk at the fact that we have a car, even if it's an old used car. The fact that everybody else is walking and the car is in our name, we're, oh yeah, I'm somebody, right? It is always by design for social expectation. The car, the house, the vacation, they become markers of your status within the tribe. It doesn't matter how much money you make every year. If you were able to leave the country every 3 months and go to a different country, not the same country, a different country, you would be able to come back. And in your social group, I just got back from this country. I just got back from that country. I just got back from the other country. Wow, you have a lavish lifestyle. Who the fuck paying for that lifestyle? It ain't cheap. And this is why your neighbor's friendly advice that you deserve to treat yourself better, or bullshit about buying XRP, is very powerful. But it is not just advice, it's a social cue. It's an invitation to join the club to prove that you are successful by displaying the same types of success that they display. But it's not good advice. Turning that down can feel like admitting you don't belong, that you haven't achieved the same success. And this is going to create a powerful internal pressure to conform. This desire to keep up isn't just about greed, it's about identity. We start to anchor our sense of self-worth to the external symbols. The danger here is what some researchers call identity creep alongside lifestyle creep. With identity creep, you start to adopt the success matrix of your peer group as your own, even if they don't line up with your true values or even your current income status. You might have always valued financial freedom, but when everyone else in your circle is renovating their kitchen, suddenly a new kitchen becomes a measure of your own success. I come from the old school. If the shit ain't broke, do not replace it. Fix it a little bit, but you replace it when it doesn't work anymore. Why am I taking out the cabinets and stuff and putting in new cabinets and stuff in a situation where the cabinets that was there was just fine? Your personal value is going to get that push, and you might feel pushed aside in a pursuit to social validation, right? And here's going to be the most important damaging part. This cycle is emotionally exhausting. This constant comparison creates a persistent low-grade anxiety, and you're always looking over your shoulder, wondering if you are keeping up with the pace of others. The joy from a new purchase is going to be fleeting because there's always something new and better to want. There is an endless supply of Joneses to keep up with. And this pursuit of wealth, fame, or beauty has been shown to result in lower levels of well-being than pursuing goals related to personal growth or community. The pressure to maintain a lavish lifestyle can lead to more stress and regret, making you feel like you have to work longer hours just to keep your head above water. And it's going to be a game that you can never win because the goalposts are always moving further and further away. Lifestyle creep is a silent financial drain. That drain is going to be disguising itself as a reward. And it preys on our deepest psychological needs to belong and feel successful. But by understanding the mechanisms of this trap by recognizing it as an external pressure, not an internal need. You can start to uncouple yourself and remove your self-worth from this particular spending habit. You can choose to define success on your own terms. That casual financial advice, that kind toss over offense, or a shared conversation about financial improvements from group chats often are going to seem harmless. Some guy jumping into our comment section boasting about XRPs often is going to feel harmless. However, your neighbor who just refinanced their mortgage and tells you rates are at rock bottom, you'd be crazy not to. Your friends who day trade stocks and say you have to get in on this, it's a sure thing. I've never told you it's a sure thing. I tell you, do your research. It's going to sound like they're trying to help you. But this unregulated, informal advice is one of the quickest ways to lose real money. The data on this is startling and extremely clear. According to a recent survey from the CFP board, the consequences of acting on bad online and casual financial advice are severe. A staggering 57% of Americans admit to making financial decisions they regret based on this kind of meaningless information, specifically because they didn't do any research to verify the information they received. And these aren't small mistakes. Nearly 2 in 5 people, that's 39% of people, have lost $250 or more from bad advice. And almost 1 in 5, or at least 18% of the people, have lost over $1,000. Let that sink in. A little single piece of bad advice from a well-meaning but unqualified source can set you back by thousands of dollars. So what do these losses actually look like? Well, one of the most common outcomes is incurring unnecessary fees and consequences, reported by 28% of those with regret. This could be the neighbor who convinced you to get a complex insurance policy, which I have never promoted, sold by their brother-in-law, of course. And when a simple term life policy at a fraction of the cost was all you needed, or maybe it's a friend who recommended a hot mutual fund with a huge expense ratio that silently eats away at your return year after year. These are the ones that hurt you the most. Another major consequence is delaying critical financial milestones. A full 33% of people who regretted taking bad advice said it caused them to put off their major life moves like buying a home or planning for retirement. I'm going to be real with you. The ability to make more money in other ways and then save the extra money that you make, or spend less money on the one job that you trust and then take that extra money and put it up for savings, is the best way to get into the direction of long-term financial savings for your future as far as retirement, but it also works towards buying a new house. With the interest rates going down right now, now is a good time to, it's a better time. Later in the year, the longer it takes, the longer the interest rates are going to keep declining, the better it is for you to dive in. But you're looking at potentially right now and at the Q1 of 2026, 6.5%, 6.3%. You might, if you got really good credit, get in there like 5.5 or 5.8%. If you're a veteran, you might get in there 5.3%. But it's a might. It's not a guarantee. It's a might, right? You still got to cover down payments, and down payments are usually 5 to 10% of the cost of the house. So if you're looking at a $400,000 house, you're looking at $40,000 now, and the closing costs. Even if you're a vet and they give you no down payment, you still got closing costs. You got to talk that closing cost into the deal, because if you don't bring any money to the table, you're still going to have to pay that closing cost, right? These are issues that nobody talks about, right? And these are the issues that you have to prepare for. And nobody's telling you about that. Nobody's telling you about the down payment assistance programs that would help you with covering the closing costs on the property. I tell you about that, but nobody else tells you about that, right? So imagine a young person being told by a popular uh, finfluencer, financial influencer, to pour all of their savings into a high risk speculative asset like XRP, which I think is the dumbest thing anybody could do. But expect them to do that, right? You go all in. Cashing a quick fortune is what you're thinking. Cashing in on this, chasing that, only to see its value plummet, like I'm telling you it'll do. Now, the down payment that they had been saving for years for whatever house or car they were going to get, that's gone. And they're not just out the money, they are out the time as well. The opportunity cost is immense. They've lost years of potential growth in a stable investment and are now back at square one. The emotional toll is a cost in itself. The same research is going to show that 1 in 5 people report heightened financial anxiety as a direct result of these types of missteps. This anxiety is a heavy burden, and it's the stress that keeps you up at night, the worry that gnaws at you during the day, and the fear that you'll never get ahead. It can strain relationships, particularly with a spouse or partner, and lead to financial infidelity, where you're hiding financial mistakes out of shame, arguing about money coming up missing, right? And it is a problem that hits the younger generation the hardest. Yet another 2025 CFP board survey found that 64% of Americans between 25 and 45, which is the current market that we're talking about here on this podcast, have made regrettable financial decisions based on misinformation, compared to 45% of those 46 to 64 also in this podcast group. Right? So everybody between 25 and 64 have screwed up at some point, but more of them between 25 and 45 did it than people between 46 and 64. And they are also nearly twice as likely to trust financial advice from social media. And that's going to be those concrete, devastating costs of a casual advice that they're going to take from this guy that's like, oh, buy my real estate, join my program, sign up for my class. I will make you a millionaire overnight. I will fix you a drop shipping website, whatever, with absolutely free. It ain't free. Don't let them lie to you. They aren't going to charge you for the website itself. They're going to charge you for the Shopify, the products, the setup, everything else, right? Am I full? No. But it's good that you are AFKing right now. So you have to remember that this is going to be more about the loss of time and the loss of opportunity, which is the heaviest emotional burdens to have. And that friendly tip isn't just a tip, it's an unvetted, unqualified piece of information that carried no accountability. And the unvetted part is your inability to double check your references, double check your sources, pay attention to the people who are not just the people, pay attention to the information that you got from the people. So when you act on what they say, you are the one who bears all of the risk. And you are the one who will pay the price for the risk that you took. in real dollars and in sleepless nights. So let's pretend for a moment that your neighbor is the most well-intended person on the earth, right? They genuinely believe that advice that they're giving you is solid gold. They bought a stock and it doubled. They refinanced and saved hundreds of bucks a month. They tell you this worked for me, so it'll definitely work for you. This is exactly where good intentions pave the road to financial disaster. The unfixable flaw of all casual financial advice is that it is a one size fits all solution in a world of deeply personal financial situations. In reality, it's a one size fits none problem. Think about what your neighbor doesn't know about you. They don't know your student loan interest, how much debt you've got. They don't know about the credit card debt that you're trying to pay down and the interest rates on it. They don't know your specific long-term goals, like whether you want to retire at 55 or send 3 kids to college. They have no idea about your personal risk tolerance. The thought of losing money in the stock market might give you hives while they might enjoy the thrill. They don't know your income, your tax bracket, or that you're trying to help support an aging parent. That's huge. Their advice, you should invest in X, is based on data set of one, their own life. It's completely missing the context that makes your financial situation unique. Acting on that advice is like taking someone else's prescription medication, which I know a lot of us do, but it might be a perfect fit for them. But for you, it could be ineffective at best and dangerous at worst. This is especially true for absolute statements like debt is always bad or you should always pay off your mortgage as quickly as possible. These simplistic rules are dangerous because they ignore the nuance of personal finance. Is all debt bad? Not necessarily. A low interest mortgage can be a powerful wealth building tool. Is paying off your mortgage always the best idea? Maybe not. If your mortgage rate is, say, 6%, and you could be earning an average of 8% in the stock market long term, you might be better off investing the difference instead of aggressively paying down that good debt. The math changes based on current rates, which makes old advice particularly risky. Talking heads and social media influencers are especially guilty of pushing these one size fit all rules. They build a following by offering simple black and white answers to complex questions, and it's appealing because it feels clear, but it ignores the most important factors in any financial decision, which is you, your life, your goals, and your values. And maybe for you, the reliability of a new car is worth the depreciation because it eliminates the stress of constant repairs. For someone else who can fix their own car, buying a car out of the auction might be a lot more efficient for them because they can get a car for 5% of the value of a new car in the same condition because they know that if it's not, they can rebuild the engine. It's the difference in the circumstances. And I find that to be daunting because even when I was looking at the difference between buying a house, the interest rates on the core satellite portfolio, then the taxation on the core satellite portfolio, then what would be the difference between going a little bit heavier on the mortgage versus letting it ride and covering the tax difference. Yeah, that's a lot of calculations. Because what say you at 20% interest drew back $20,000 worth of taxable income. $20,000 worth of taxable income would tax you probably in the 24th percentile, which means that you're probably going to have to give up $5,000 or $7,000 worth of money towards taxation. Well, what say you had put out of the taxation, out of the taxable income, $10,000 or $15,000 towards the mortgage, or $10,000 or $15,000 additional dollars towards the mortgage? If you're operating on a 17% return, the money that you're not getting on the brokerage account might be a bigger loss than the amount of money that you're getting off of the mortgage. Because you're gonna, if you're paying the mortgage, and let's say you're paying a mortgage at $1,000 a year, you're paying $12,000 a year on a mortgage already. If you have $20,000 worth of taxable income and you put another $8,000 on the mortgage, you're at $20,000 that you paid on the mortgage for the year. If that tax blanket covers the see what I'm saying? If that tax blanket covers the cost of what you got off of the brokerage account, you're doing better because you broke even. But in situations where that's not the case, in situations where you have to decide, do you want to get that 6% loan, or do you want to get that 17% gain? You might want to get the 17% gain and get as much deductions as you can, pay the difference, keep that 17% gain. Because if you get that 17% gain for 20 years, by the time you pay off the house, you might have $1 million. Does it matter if you have more money coming in than what you need if you give a little bit of it to Uncle Sam? Of course not. Personal finance is just that, personal. It's a series of trade-offs that have to be aligned with your specific individual circumstances and what you value most. So your neighbor's financial success story is their story, not your blueprint. It's an anecdote, not advice, right? And mistaking one for the other is a critical error. The advice they give you isn't tailored to your lifestyle. It is a reflection of theirs. Halfway through, let's take a quick pause, because if we're talking about the pressure, the anxiety, the feeling of being behind, and if any of this is hitting home for you, do me a quick favor, hit that like button and also hit that subscription button and hit the notification bell, because it's going to tell the algorithm that this is a conversation worth having, and it's helping get this message out to more people who might be feeling trapped on that same financial treadmill. And if you're new here, make sure, if you want to keep learning about how to take back control of your money, that you also reinvest effort into that subscription button and that notification bell. I told y'all Michael was here. Michael's always here. He here more than I'm here. Now, we're all about to bring clarity to a world of financial confusion. Now, let's go back to it real quick, because we've talked about the direct financial losses, the money that vanishes from your bank account. But the true cost of trying to keep up with your neighbor runs much deeper. The most significant damage is often hidden, impacting your mental health, your relationships, and your sense of self. Now, this is the fallout that can be far more destructive than losing a few $1,000s. Let's start with the emotional toll. The constant pressure of keeping up with the Joneses is a recipe for chronic financial anxiety. Man, I thought Michael would have hit us with a book of the day so far. You must have not had time to research one yet. This is going to create a nagging feeling of inadequacy. No matter what you achieve, it never feels like enough because someone else always has more. This can have serious mental health consequences. A CFP board survey found that 1 in 5 people report increased financial anxiety from financial missteps. And this isn't just a generic worry, it can show up as panic attacks, sleepless nights, and a mind that won't stop racing with financial fears. You're always calculating your money, you're always trying to see where your ends meet. You're miscalculating. It always happens when you're doing it in your head. You're miscalculating the cost. You've got X number of dollars approximated over here, X number of dollars approximated over there. The amount of money that you know that you have available coming in versus how much you think you have paid. You might count a payment twice and subtract too much money, or count the same amount of money twice and expect to have more money going around. Then you're wondering, well, what if all of these things have to be paid off of the same limited quantity of capital, not paying attention to another quantity of capital that's on its way in that you completely forgot about, and all of these things that you're juggling in your head. You are not sleeping. You are just stressed out and you're thinking about, how do I get this? How do I get through this? Right? The book is For a Cause and Comrades, Why Men Fight by James M. McPherson. That sounds like a decent book. This constant stress can even lead to unhealthy coping mechanisms like overreacting or drinking alcohol. If you wasn't already drinking alcohol, because if you were already drinking alcohol, you'll be drinking more alcohol. Smoking a little bit of weed. Pop a Molly or 5. The pursuit of a lifestyle meant to signal happiness is ironically a direct path to misery. Research has consistently shown that materialism is strongly associated with lower well-being. Then there's a relational strain. Money is a leading cause of stress in relationships, and social comparison is like pouring gasoline on that fire. So when one partner feels compelled to spend to keep up with appearances, it can create huge conflicts with a partner who's focused on long-term goals. And ladies, this is where y'all have financial fights. You want to get that new Brazilian weave, you want to get that new Gucci Prada purse. Your excuse for getting it is because all your homegirls got it. Your man is telling you don't go get that. He's trying to focus on X, Y, and Z. You're not trying to hear it. Y'all fight. He ain't your daddy, blah, blah, blah. Y'all break up because why? You wanted to impulse buy because you didn't want to be the only girl in your friend group that did not have that new purse, that did not have that new hairstyle, that did not have that new fingernail set, that did not have that new G-Wagon. And because you couldn't get it, you were willing to ruin a long-term relationship that was built on growth so that you could keep up with your friends, and they're all broke. Right? And this is going to lead to a lot of arguments, a lot of resentment, and it's going to break down the trust in your relationship. It can even lead to financial infidelity, where one person hides purchases or debt out of shame or fear of consequence, where money comes up missing. Nobody knows where it went because the person who spent it won't say nothing. He said, best word you can command in life. Now, imagine the trust that is broken when a spouse discovers a secret credit card bill for thousands of dollars in luxury goods. You're talking about paying student loans. Your student loans is paid off, but you still paying that student loan price somewhere else and nobody knew. When that person finds out, damn, look at all the money that's been getting spent. I had a buddy whose mom would take his money from the rent and go buy stuff on Amazon. Amazon packages would show up. And then when the Amazon packages would show up, she would have him Build-A-Bears the sets like IKEA, putting all this stuff together. And he's thinking that she got it with her money. She got it with his money. Then when it's time to pay the rent money, she come up to talk about some day short. How the fuck we short? I gave you the rent money before the rent was due. Now he's got to put in extra work to get the rent money because she spent this money. That type of financial infidelity is staggering. I notice people that live beyond their means think everyone else is stretching like they are. And they don't understand some of us live below and look sad to people who actually have some. You are definitely right. You are definitely right. The truth of the matter is that Michael says that a lot of times live like you're homeless or live like you're poor, live like you're broke, right? And the message is not to unnecessarily overspend just because you got it. The main reason is that you need to put money away, not just in case of an emergency. You're putting the money away because you want to be able to stop. You're working right now because you're young or close to middle age, and you can still do it. And that's why you're doing it. But you hate your job, or you're gonna start hating your job eventually, because this isn't what you want to do. This is what's paying the bills. But when the rent goes up and you can't afford to pay the bills because you're not getting a promotion, you're gonna be pissed off. But let you get a promotion and the rent hasn't gone up yet, you got a few extra dollars, and now you're wasting extra money on extra stuff instead of putting it away. But then look at, we just had a second government shutdown since October, where they were out for 6 weeks between October and November, and they might be out for another 6 weeks between February and April. And if you're furloughed and you're not getting paid right now, it doesn't matter if they make it up to you later. What matters is that you barely recovered from the last time you didn't get any money for 2 months. And now you're sitting over here with another time that you're about to not get paid for 2 months. You're putting extra money away so that stuff like this doesn't stress you out. You're putting money like this away so that if you got sick and you couldn't go to work for 6 weeks, if you got injured and you couldn't go to work for 6 months, because car crashes happen every day. You break a bone and you're out for 18 months. You need 18 months worth of your bills is already covered anyway, kind of money. You know what I mean? If you got into a car crash and broke your leg, but you're getting paid off the computer, you can sit in a chair in front of the computer and get paid. But if you're standing at a construction site digging ditches, your leg is broke, you are out of work. Jolin, he's a roofer. He climbing stairs with a broken foot and a foot cast on because he can't miss too many days from work. Because if you miss too many days from work, you ain't gonna be able to pay your bills. No matter how little your expenses are. If you don't have a financial backup plan, you don't have it. So living at 99% of your income, that's not beneficial. Because if you take a 25% pay cut because of whatever happens in your life, because life isn't always consistent, and if you take a 25% pay cut because life happens, now you don't have 25% of your bills paid. Now you've got late fees and rollovers and extensions and interest rates on late fees and all of this other stuff. And if you roll it over too many times, you're getting a final notice and all of this stuff. Your landlord start talking about throwing you out and all of this stuff. It's not beneficial for you, right? Michael says, is the word no, no, we don't need Netflix. No, we don't need a new car, etc. Command that word no. Well, see, the problem is that a lot of times when men say no, women say, you can't tell me what to do because you're not my daddy. And in situations like with my homeboy, when his mama, he ain't gonna tell his mama no. And I'm sitting over here looking at him like, why not? I tell my mama no all the motherfucking time. I've been telling her no since I got my first job at 9 years old. I was telling her no. By the time I was 16, I was telling her hell no. Like, shit, I already bought you a car. You don't need another one. Leave dry the one I bought you. Shit. Ask me for an extra one. Shit, there's 5 of them in the yard. You better pick one and drive one. Shit, don't take the one with the most gas in it. That's the one I'm taking to work. Take the other one. He said, no, she needs to find a new place to live. Thank you. That's what I'll be trying to tell him. Oh, but she can't find another place to live because he paid for a third of what she got going on. So he moved out. He wouldn't have enough money to live on his own, and she wouldn't have enough money to live on her own. She almost dead though, so give him another 5 or 10 years, and he gonna have to figure it out for himself. But at the same time, I keep trying to tell him, bro, instead of spending extra money because you got extra money, you need to be trying to put extra money away so that when you don't got that other income supplementing your standard of living, that you can still do it on your own. Because otherwise, you're gonna go from living in a house with your family to living in a dorm room with a bunch of strangers because you're only going to be able to pay for 1/5 of the cost of staying at that location. And if you're only paying for 1/5 of the cost of staying in that location, you, as a man, you're not going to be considered socially valuable to any woman where you can only pay for 1/5 of the cost of stay anywhere. His mama, it could be his mama, could be his sister. It ain't his child and it ain't his wife. And either way, that's financially irresponsible. He should be able to say no. And he should be handling the finances since she's irresponsible with the finances. She should not even have an allowance. He should have a safe in his house with all of his assets, credit cards, wallets, and everything locked in a safe so that she's not able to touch it. And then when it's time to do something, he's making a money order directly to the landlord and then give it to the landlord or do direct deposit, auto pay online, something like that. But cut out the middleman. When she starts spending money, she better spend her own goddamn money. He should be spending his money, but that's not me. That's him. But these are the issues that financial infidelity, because when you're in a group scenario where multiple people are paying in, whether it's family, whether it's friends, whether it's romantic partners, if one person was supposed to chip in a certain amount and that amount ain't getting chipped in because money went somewhere else, y'all are going to have a financial fight. It's always happening. And these secrets can destroy the very foundation of the relationship that you have. It's not limited to romantic partners, because you got bad financial tips from a friend that can breed resentment, especially if you lose your money and they're not going to help you recover it. And that's going to make a valuable relationship incredibly awkward because you bought into their stupid idea and they lost a bunch of money and they lost a bunch of your money and they're not even going to recoup your losses. And perhaps the most sinister hidden cost is the erosion of your own values. What we earlier called identity creep, when you spend years trying to match that lifestyle of those around you, their values can solely replace your own values. And you might start out valuing freedom and time with family, but you live in a neighborhood where success is measured by the size of your house. Over time, you may find yourself working a job you hate to make payments on things you don't truly need. And you've become trapped by a lifestyle that was never yours to begin with. You've lost touch with what actually makes you happy in the pursuit of what you think should make you happy. And you've traded your autonomy for approval. And this creates a dangerous social trap. Your financial choices become tied to the approval of your social groups, making it incredibly difficult to choose a different path. Selling your oversized house to downsize might be the smartest financial move you can make. But the fear of what the neighbors will think can be a paralyzing preventer of taking such an action. You can become a prisoner of other people's expectations. If you're moving, who gives a fuck what the neighbors think? You're not going to be staying in this neighborhood anymore, right? But this is the ultimate hidden cost, not just the loss of money, but the loss of self, your own personal individual identity. The keeping up with the Joneses phenomenon isn't new. It's been around for generations. Michael knew about it back when he was 9 years old. That was like 72 years ago. But today, this age-old human tendency has been put on steroids because the neighbor's new car is no longer the main trigger. The modern Joneses are not just the guy next door. They are in your pocket, on your screen, 24/7. Social media has become the ultimate comparison engine, an algorithm perfected machine designed to make you feel like perpetually failing and falling behind. Think about the neighbor you see when they have their new car. You feel that pang of envy, but then you go out or you go inside and the moment passes, right? Doesn't bother you. The exposure is very limited. On social media, on the other hand, this is a relentless firehouse of curated perfection. It's not just one neighbor, it's hundreds of friends and people you don't even fucking know that you call friends because you follow them, and influencers all broadcast highlight reels of their life. You see the perfect filtered vacation photos, the extravagant meals, the designer clothes. This constant exposure creates a completely distorted perception of reality. And what you don't see is the behind the scenes truth. You don't see the credit card debt that funded the vacation. You don't see that influencers must have products where gifted them is an expectation. Those must have products that they got, those were gifted to them by the promotion. I've had quite a few products on the show that they gave that to me for free so that I could talk to y'all about it on the show. And I didn't even pay for shipping. They just sent it over and I was like, sweet. Right? And while the products were good, they worked, they did what they advertised. The problem is that while I didn't have to pay to get that, and that's not in my normal budget, anybody who saw that product and thought, oh yeah, I'm gonna go get that, they go and grab that product. And that's money coming out of their pocket. Now, I was paid to promote that product so that I could pay for the podcast. But the person who bought that product, they're just buying a product because they saw the product. Keeping up with the Joneses. Your brain doesn't automatically make that distinction, the difference between a must-have product that's being offered versus the value of the product. Now, I try my best to curate products to make sure that I'm only talking about stuff I'm willing to buy versus just talking about random stuff. But when you're looking at it, your mind is just going to see a constant stream of people who seem to have more stuff, do more activities, and be more in their lives. And this has to give rise to the feeling of money dysmorphia, where people feel financially anxious even if they are objectively stable. It's a feeling of being broke that's based on not your bank account, but your social media feed. You feel broke because you don't have enough money to buy all the stuff you see everybody else got. Notice those WWE championship titles are blowing up these days. Almost everybody's got one. Some people got a collection. Just because every fifth social media live stream somebody that spent $600 on a championship belt does not mean that, one, they're a champion, or two, you need to buy that belt for yourself. It does not give you value. Matter of fact, I was watching somebody's social media stream that the first couple times I got on their channel by accident, popped up on the For You page. They were not promoting, but they were showing off their belt. The mom bought her the belt, $600, and she showed it off for all of about 3 weeks. That's it. Now, every social media feed that happens is completely different. The belt's not there. Yeah, she talks about WWE from time to time, but she doesn't. The belt's not there. There isn't any more like, look, this is a $600 belt, because a lot of people were challenging her to a Money in the Bank match where they were gonna bring a Money in the Bank briefcase and catch her, but she don't leave the house with it. She doesn't leave the house with it because so many people challenge her for the title. And I'm sitting over here thinking like, well, why did your mama buy you a $600 belt for you to leave in your bedroom? You should be like that dude in the club. When John Cena's music came out, he was in the crowd with his World Heavyweight Championship title belt because he brought his title to the car or brought his title to the club. I can't say that that's a mature thing to do, but I mean, if you're going to spend $500 on it, that motherfucker should be with you everywhere. Michael said The Road Less Traveled. Ah, yes. By M. Scott Peck, MD. Opening lines. Life is difficult. Look now, we're going to have a whole book collection if you pick up each one of the books that Michael telling you about. You have a whole book collection. Speaking of books, look. The Bodaciously True Story from Chris Arquette. Which I'm waiting on the second volume of this book to come out. I got to put up another video about it, then let his wife know, hey, I've been promoting your book. and she'll send me another copy of the next one that comes out. And then from Brett Owens and Tim Jacobs, how to retire on dividends and live off of 8%. I'm talking about doing it off of 17%, but after you take 4% off for taxation and inflation, you're still doing 10%. Then I've also got the other book, Alice in Crypto Land. So we're always talking about financial improvements and financial investments. You just gotta hang in there. We got a lot to give. I think in some of those triple diamond platinum packages, I might actually provide some of the those members a lot of the books that we talk about on the show. They'll have, they got to get that membership though. You got to get it and hold it for 45 days, and then you get a book. But the digital pressure has a measurable effect on our financial behavior, because one recent study found that 81% of consumers buy products based on their friends' social media posts. So the cycle is going to be clear here. Comparisons leads to feeling inadequate, which drives impulse spending, which leads to financial stress because you're spending more money than you have to do things that you can't afford to do, because you're already spending too much money on things that you don't need to be spending money on. The problem is going to be amplified by the financial influencers. Financial influencers, while some offer really good advice like us on this and that, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between, many lack any formal qualifications. They build credibility not through expertise, but by showing off their expensive car and their luxury apartment as proof that their strategies work. So you'll see those financial gurus walking through a penthouse suite with all walls are glass looking over the city, and they'll be having a conversation with you like they made it. They could be in that room having that 15-minute conversation while the owner of that unit is in the bathroom. You could see them outside walking in front of a fleet of cars as if that's their car. They might actually go and sit in one of the cars while they're waiting on the owner to come to that car and drive them where they wanted to go. The stuff in those ads, the stuff in those promotions don't have to belong to the person driving the car. You might see some, like those gold digger videos, where dude might be driving a luxury vehicle that they rented for the day, just for the day of doing that video. And then they'll put they'll have the video, they'll have the car for the whole day. They might rent that car for $500 a day, or $500 for 2 days, or $1,000 for 3 days, or something like that. And the whole time they have the car, they're out there getting as much video content as they can. They return the car, and then they don't do anything else until they get more money from the podcast or from the social media platform to go back out there and do that again and put up more videos. And it's crazy, because while they're look, you're car rich or house poor, you could be both. You could be car poor and house poor, because you could have spent all of your money on this luxury car, and whatever you didn't spend on the luxury car, you're spending on this luxury house. And you got to charge something to the credit card because you don't got enough to go around. And then you've got to take a little bit of extra bonus money and throw it down on the credit card to pay down the credit card. You find yourself having your credit utilization go up every month because you're only paying the minimum interest rates, but you're always adding more money onto the credit card. But you got a pretty large balance, so you're good for it, right? Living above what Cash Money Millionaire said, luxury car. They were talking about the Benz with the tank on E, but they go into the club and all drinks on me. Why do I not have enough money to put gas in my car, but I got enough money to buy drinks for a bunch of people that ain't even got enough money to put gas in my car? House real big, car real big, everything real big, but you ain't got enough money to pay your rent on time. This is the life that people live. Cash Money Millionaires, right? This blurs the line between an endorsement and a legitimate financial guideline from some of these podcasters. That's why y'all see me sitting in the same damn old ass raggedy ass chair, sitting in front of the same curtains that people try to joke about being a fucking bookshelf because I'm sitting in front of a window to get good internet reception where we skip frames because the internet sucks because they're working on the towers in this very small community. Population is very small, and yet I tell you guys how to make yourselves financially more improved because you can. All you have to do is do the research and compare what you find to how that impacts you, and then start investing in it to make yourself more successful. I mean, yeah, I could put up a brokerage account and show you, oh, yeah, look, 300% return. I could show that. But all that's going to do is have the IRS say, hey, where's my cut? It's not going to compel you to get out there and go do it yourself. But explaining to you that over the years, over the next 10 or 15 years, 20 years, that you're going to see me in different countries around the world because I did what I told you to do. You don't join me because you didn't do what I told you to do. That's on you because you had the ability to do your research, which is completely different from what all the other gurus are like, oh, trust me, come and buy my program and I got you today. Nah, fuck all that shit, bro. Write down the information that I told you, do your research, and then come back and talk to me in a couple of weeks and tell me whether or not you took action on what I told you about. If you didn't, you didn't. But if you did, you knew that what I was telling you wasn't wrong. Younger generations are particularly vulnerable with this. 2025 surveys showed that 44% of young Americans are more likely to trust financial advice from social media than older adults, which is one of the reasons why the largest majority of my channel is over the age of 30. These kids are going to make a mistake that a curated image is credibility, and they're paying a price for that. This is going to create the perfect storm because you have a deep-seated psychological need to compare yourself to other individuals. A technology platform that provides an endless, distorted view of other success, and a generation that is increasingly turning to this unreliable source for guidance results in a population that feels perpetually anxious and feel like they're falling behind. Look, every year we got a phone. The phone is good for 5 or 7 years, if not more. And every year they put out a new phone. They put out a new iPhone every year, and they put out a new Samsung every year. You haven't even paid off the first phone. And they're telling you about 2 different releases that came out. You typically have a 18 to 24 month payment plan on your cell phone, and 2 different versions come out before you finish paying for the first one. It compels you to trade your phone in and get the next version, and you're always still owing 24 months on your phone every year, every 2 years, where you're basically leasing the phone, never owning anything, always paying that $35 monthly equipment fee on top of your phone bill just because. Shit makes no sense. He said, we'll see you in another country because you're wanted by the FBI. If they really wanted me, they have a hard time trying to find me. But if they track down my podcast with 3 hours on the air, they should be able to find me. And without utilizing VPNs, they should be able to find my exact location by the time I go off the air. But see, I actually put my money in the right spot, invest in the right things, and then I make sure that I give Uncle Sam a little something sometimes to make sure that they're not looking for me. So since nobody's looking for me, I mean, if the FBI was looking for me, they would catch me at the airport. That's really and true. If they're looking for me, I should probably get on a boat because they're not going to be looking for me if I get on a private boat. They're going to be looking for me if I get on a cruise ship, and they'd be looking up if I get on a commercial flight. But if I was on a private boat, nobody would care where I'm at. Like Raymond Reddington, I would just disappear. But I don't have to worry about that. One of the reasons why, I have enough money coming in to pay for the things that I need, and the things that I pay for are tax deductible, which allows us to be financially successful. The modern neighborhood is global and very, very digital. The pressure isn't from one person, it is from millions of carefully curated images telling you the same thing, that you're not enough. And when it's a group census, it peaks heavily on your conscience. one person telling you that you can do better is like, ah, fuck you, asshole. I know what I'm doing. But a few million people doing better than you, you're like, man, I'm slacking, right? Breaking free requires a conscious effort to unplug from the comparison machine and see social media for what it is, a collection of advertisements. Yeah, the blacklist. Yeah, the blacklist. So we've spent all this time dissecting the problem. Hour and 2 hours almost dissecting the problem. And it can feel a bit overwhelming, but it is not hopeless. There is a powerful antidote to this social poison. The antidote is to stop looking outward for validation and start looking inward to build your own personal financial fortress, just like I was telling you earlier this week and last week, matter of fact. What does that mean, you might ask? It means shifting your focus from what everybody else is doing to what you want to achieve in your own life. It means building a financial plan so that deeply rooted ideas in your own goals and own ambitions, that the noise is not going to impact from your neighbors and your social media feeds, so that that information from them become irrelevant. This isn't just about a budget, it's about designing your life with intent, because your intentions matter for your success. Even billionaires compel themselves to each other as well. Yeah, you're right. So MC Hammer is $5 million net worth, right? But a rich person that has $50 million could say that they're MC Hammer broke if they lost $45 million to the IRS or something to that effect. They're not broke, but they're less rich, right? They will compare themselves to one another. They're not Beyonce rich. They're not Jay-Z rich, but Beyonce and Jay-Z is not Donald Trump and Elon Musk rich. Yeah. You need a sound foundation to build on. You need a very sound foundation to build on. And two broke people can become millionaires in 10 years, and two broke people can become a multimillionaire in 20 years, but you need a solid foundation. Donald Trump is 84 years old, 85 years old. It doesn't matter if he started off with $5 million to become a billionaire. If he would have started with $5, 85 years ago, a 20-year plan he could have mastered, and 40 years after his 20-year plan, which would have been 60 years, he would have still been able to potentially make it to that billion-dollar position. If you're starting right now at 40 and you stick to your plan for 40 more years and you're 80, you could be that same billionaire, because of a millionaire in 10 years, 2 million in 20 years. You're probably at 5 million at 30 years. You're probably at 15 million at 40 years. And when you have millions, you can invest millions into a billion-dollar industry that could pay you back even more millions even faster than your stock portfolio. You have millionaires that will take their money and put it into real estate investment opportunities that will give them 30% return in 90 days. That's a bigger return for them than getting 20% back on a brokerage account. You can bet on higher risk because you've got more money. If you're still living that $75,000 a year lifestyle, but you're drawing back $200,000, $300,000 a year, and you're reinvesting that into other things, your lifestyle is covered, and you're exploding on expanding your growth. You don't have to work anymore. You're making 2 times, 3 times, 5 times more than what your current income is. You don't need anything else. All you need to do is make sure that your bills stay paid for the year and that you watch your investment portfolio. So why is a personalized plan so critical? Because it's the only thing that works. A tailored financial plan that integrates your spending, your savings, and your investments based on your specific situation is the key to building real wealth. The data backs this up. People who work with qualified professional financial professionals, like certified professional planners, report significantly higher levels of confidence and well-being. For example, a CFP board survey found that 3 in 4 Americans, which is about 74%, feel confident following their advisor's advice without needing to verify it elsewhere. I tell y'all to even double check them. What's it take on the ground floor investment platform? You might be misunderstanding what we're talking about. Getting foundations, getting your financial foundation set up means that your basic expenses are already paid, so that you don't have to worry about where your money's coming from to pay for your standard living. Then what I mean about getting on the ground floor on investment portfolios and other things to that effect is that if there is a commercial deal that's about to start up and you have the first investment in that deal, that's getting in on the ground floor before the progress of the success is shown. When it is at its most volatile, you can invest in it and have a higher guaranteed contractual return. Everybody else who gets in after it starts becoming successful is not going to be offered nearly as much of a return. So a ground floor investment is when the product developer is offering a larger return for your initial investment. So like back in the day when Coca-Cola first came out, it might have had higher interest rates and lower buy-in costs. Now you're spending almost $500 a share and you're getting less than 1% return. So the getting in on the ground floor means that you bought in before it got famous and you got higher returns before it got famous. Like Donald Trump buying into the Miss America pageant before it became Miss Universe. When Donald Trump bought into the WWE when it was a WWF. Now that it's bought out by TKO, all of his shares of WWE from back when it was WWF is worth so much more for him now at $300 to $500 a share than what it was when they first got started, when it was probably $5 or $10 a share. And it's still paying dividend returns. You know, and a lot of places you can invest in. If you see things that are turning out financially beneficial, like when I was telling you guys about how real estate investment trusts are going to start exploding because of the tax cuts. If you bought into real estate investment trusts in December, right when the cuts hit, now that everybody's buying houses during tax season with their tax return money, you're going to see a lot more houses disappearing off the market, a lot more loans coming out, a lot more mortgages going out. And those real estate investment trusts that benefit from mortgages, they're going to be turning over a larger quantity of profits, which means their shares are going to go up. So if you bought in before the shares went up, you're not only getting the dividends, you're also getting the growth. You can sell the difference and then buy back in and keep that growth, or you can hold it and continue to buy in. Kids should be working berry fields, cutting grass, babysitting, etc. Never too early on life to start creating worth. Yes, I did a whole show about that. If you teach the kids from 5, 6, 7 years old how to be valuable in the house, performing tasks and chores around the house and make themselves beneficial to you in the house, which takes responsibility off of you at the house and allows you to put more focus on bringing in money into the house. Then at 8, 9, and 10 years old, you start teaching the kids about how to get out and make money outside of the house so that they're not depending on your income. Now, instead of them washing dishes at your house, they're a housekeeper at somebody else's house. Instead of just cutting your grass, now they're cutting everybody's grass in the neighborhood. Instead of washing your car, they're washing everybody's car in the neighborhood. And now they're starting to bring more money from outside the house into the house to increase the quantity of income that is in the house, which allows them to pay for their wants after you as a parent provide them for their needs. So instead of them asking you for a new PlayStation, get out there and go wash 35 or 40 cars and go and get you enough money to buy yourself a PlayStation, you know? And this will teach them the financial responsibility by the time they reach 16, 17, 18 years old and they want to get themselves a driver's license and buy themselves a car. You're able to show them the financial cost of paying for the insurance, paying for the repairs, and paying for the gas, and how they have to budget that before they get enough money to go and buy the car. But that is only going to teach them how to make money, to spend money. The other half of that, because all of us were taught that at some point. We either learned it for ourselves or our parents taught us that part, to go out and make the money you need to buy the things that you want. But what very few parents are teaching kids how to do is how to go make money, take a portion of the money that you make, invest that, and take a portion of the money that you make and spend that. And the most financially successful kids will be the ones that will be taught to take a large majority of their money and invest that first, and then take whatever's left and cover the things that they want or the things that they need. If you start with the Trump accounts that are coming out right now between 25 and 28, if you start teaching those kids how to invest, putting that money into their Trump account, getting themselves other brokerage account, because a lot of times a lot of financial institutions won't take children, but if you get them a kid's bank account and you get them put their money into their Trump account, you can show them how to invest money, and you can monitor their money before they're making major financial mistakes. You can teach them how to be financially responsible, teach them how not to brag about their wealth, teach them about how not to splurge on their friends and unnecessary strangers that are pretending to be their friends just because they have extra money, and then teach them how to keep their money safe, right? Then with the extra money that they're gaining over the years, they can see their money grow in these accounts and see their money blowing up in these stocks, and they can feel confident and satisfied that they've got enough to do for themselves, where their parents don't have to buy their first car. They can buy it themselves. Their parents don't have to buy their cell phones. They pay for their own cell phone bills, which also allows them to feel more self-sufficient and self-validated. Then when they reach 18, 19, 20 years old and they're able to take 20 grand out of a brokerage account and go and buy their first house, and now they know how to budget money, and now they know how to invest and save money while they budget money, and they know how to leverage their house in case they don't have enough money coming in, so that they don't have to lose their house in foreclosure because they're not making enough money. Now they're in a position where if you're getting into a relationship with somebody, one of the core foundational criteria is she's got to have her own house, because I got my own house. And what we're going to do is we're going to rent out her house, and she's going to live in my house, and we're going to live under one income. We're going to invest her income, spend my income. Her income, for the profits from the house, pays for the house, and everything else gets invested. And we can split the money in half. Her money invests into a brokerage account under her name, and the rest of the money goes into a brokerage account under my name, and we're both making money. 5 years into that kind of relationship, she should be able to see $500,000 or $250,000 sitting somewhere. I should be able to see $500,000 or $250,000 sitting somewhere. And she should be able to say, okay, with the person I'm with right now, instead of living from check to check, we have built ourselves the type of industry where we don't have to work. We're just working because we can. And we're going to build our success. 10, 15 years down the line, when y'all get married, y'all are getting married because y'all can afford it. When you're having kids at 25, 30 years old, you're having kids because you can afford it. But that's if you're teaching your kids at 7, 8, 9, 10 years old how to be financially responsible, so that by the time they're 18, 19, 20, they know what they're doing. And then if they're doing it right, since they were 7, 8, 9 years old, they've got a 10-year head start at 18. They've got perfect credit at 18, 800 credit score or higher. They've got credit cards in their name. They've got all of this other stuff that other people aren't going to have. And between 18 and 30, they've got 20 years to either make it better or fuck it up. And if they make it better, you can see them at 30 and 40 years old owning everything, not having to work for nothing, with a massive nest egg where they can technically retire at 30 and 40 years old, but they're going to keep working until they're 50 or 60. Why? Because at 60 years old, when you've done this for 30 years or 40 years, Or 50 years, if your parents started you at 10 and you're 60, you've been doing this for 50 years. The nest egg you would have built with 50 years of positive investment opportunities, you would be a multimillionaire, even if you did it by yourself, regardless of whatever bad relationships you got involved in. What is that? Thessalonians? Oh, that's a Bible verse. Chapter 3:10. If anyone is unwilling to work, you shall not eat at my table. Well, that's actually a very good financial investment opportunity straight out of the Bible. So if you're a Christian, Thessalonians 3:10 says, anyone unwilling to work shall not eat at my table. I don't give a fuck if you bringing in money. If your ass ain't willing to put in some effort, you are not able to eat at my table. The benefits from receiving bad information from other individuals go far beyond numbers, and that's one of the reasons why I tell you that you need to prioritize benefiting from paying attention to your own financial situation and the investment opportunities that benefit it, because a personalized plan is a fortress for your mental health. It dramatically reduces financial stress because it gives you a sense of control. You are no longer reacting to external pressures. You are proactively executing your own strategy. And this builds confidence and quiets the anxiety that comes from uncertainty. People who have a written financial plan consistently report feeling more secure. Now, you might be thinking, isn't financial planning only for the wealthy? Well, this is a common and dangerous myth. This advice is exactly what leaves millions of people vulnerable to the bad advice that we've been talking about all day. But the landscape is changing. The emergence of financial planning apps, coupled with more accessible fee-only advisors, is making it easier than ever to get personalized guidance without needing a massive portfolio. Because yes, some of those guys are $350 an hour and you might need 5 hours to get your shit together. But a lot of the times you can get a lot of the core foundational stuff done with somebody that's very cheap. Like, I'm here, the cheapest membership is like what, $3-4 a month, and I'm here 30 days out of a 30-day month and 28 days out of a 28-day month. I'm here every day. The fact is that you can get more information talking to me on this podcast than what you can get from a financial advisor, and I'm here 2-3 hours a day every night of the week. Then you can take notes. You don't just action upon what I said. You take notes, do your research, and then after you finish doing your research, when you get to your financial planner, you have 95% of what you need done. And now your next step is going to be to take action on anything else that is under the tax laws, IRS laws, government funded laws, stuff to that effect. Is that financial planning is more for the poor. Financial planning is specifically required for the poor, but poor people don't know that. Poor people believe that financial planning is for the rich because somebody else does it for them. Poor people, you might not have enough money to pay somebody else to budget your life. But if you can budget your own life, you can save $350 an hour and get your own finances in order. But a personalized plan is your shield, and it's going to be a declaration of your priorities. So when your neighbor pulls up in a new car, you don't feel envy because you know that every dollar you didn't spend on a car payment is working for you, building towards your goals of financial independence. And the new car is no longer a symbol of success. It's a symbol of a different set of priorities that are not your own priorities. So now you're not looking at that Hellcat like, oh, I wish I had one of those. It's like, fuck the low gas mileage on that car, and fuck the high interest rates on that car, and fuck the even higher car insurance for that damn car. I know a guy who had a Hellcat. His insurance was over $800 a month for the fucking car. I'm like, bro, by himself, shit. My car is like 100. At one point, it was $97 a month. I could get 6 months worth of car insurance for less than $600. Like, this dude was paying $800 a month for his Hellcat's insurance, and we had the same coverage. I was like, oh no. Poor people don't see the value. Poor people don't see the value because of the lifestyle creep, because they're so used to not having that as soon as they get a little bit more, they now instinctively spend it all on improving their standard of living so that they now have more, but they don't have any more money. So you're still living from check to check. You still don't have a nest egg. They'll get a bump in their credit limit, and that means that they can charge more stuff to their credit card. They will see a larger quantity of assets accessible to them and still not have an extra dollar in their bank account. They might go from owning one car to financing two cars because they got more money to spend. And typically, a female can't be in a relationship with a dude and he buys himself a new car. Now, that ain't gonna fly. He's got to buy her a new car. And if there is a second car, he gets the old one. She's not gonna say, that's okay, I'll keep the old one. Let's just buy another old one that both paid up front and we don't got to worry about notes. No, sir, no, sir. She wants a new car. Not a certified pre-owned one. You know what I mean? And if the best that he can do is from a buy here, pay here, a lot of times some females aren't satisfied with that. So because you're keeping up with the Joneses, you're keeping up with her expectations for your spending, you find yourself financially pressured. But if you had a financial plan, you could show her, hey, this ain't in our budget. We're trying to get here. This is what we have. This is what we're doing. This is what you're asking for, and it doesn't fit. Then you got a partner that's like, oh, okay, I see. Building a fortress is going to take work. It requires you to sit down and have an honest conversation with yourself about what you truly want. But once the plan is built, it provides a level of security and peace that no luxury purchase can ever afford. It's the ultimate defense against the social traps designed to make you broke. Building a personalized financial fortress sounds intimidating, but it doesn't have to be, because you don't need to be a financial genius to take back control. You just need a clear, simple framework. Think of this as the 5 steps that you're going to need for your plan to develop financial immunity. Immunity from bad advice, social pressure, and lifestyle creep. Is that most people can do their own taxes, order the forms you need from the IRS online, and you'll get it in about 2 weeks, saving $178 for about 15 minutes of work. You can also file your own 1040EZ using TurboTax and not have to pay $1. They have a free file your own taxes scenario with TurboTax. Now, when you have a business plan and all this other stuff added onto it, you might pay that $178 to file your taxes, but you file your own taxes online through TurboTax and get your refund faster than what you would mailing it in, and you can pay for the audit protection. He says no. Well, it is true. It does work. It does work. You can do it online. You can pay. You can get it done yourself. You can buy the tax forms. You can get it in there. You know that tax season started on January 26th, and if it's February 7th and you haven't done your taxes yet, you could have ordered those tax forms and they could have been here by the time you decide to get your stuff done. But yeah, he's right. You could have got them and you could have saved you some money, and you did not have to spend all of that extra money on getting your taxes done, you know. But again, you also could have used TurboTax, and you could have done it instead of paying for H&R Block in your Walmart, where they're going to increase the quantity of return that you can get so that they can take that $500 out of your return money. You could have did that, all those calculations yourself. And TurboTax is a step-by-step questionnaire. Did you do this? Did you do that? Yes or no? How much did you make? How much did you spend? Standard or whatever. Either way, you can still get it done, and you can still get your returns, and you can still make sure that your taxes is looking the way you want it to look. You can double check, because if you're doing it online, you can look at the app and you can see that the numbers don't line up. And you can go back over it and double check it a second time. It's still far cheaper than a financial advisor. Oh, I know you're just using the word no. That's why I skipped the second time you said no. I wasn't even going to touch that. I wasn't even going to touch that, because at the end of the day, that's what people need to practice saying is no. No, I'm not going to waste money on something that I don't need. But if you don't know what you're doing with your taxes, filling out that paperwork could delay your taxation. But before you run out there and go and get you a financial advisor or a tax adjuster, you can actually go and do your taxes on TurboTax and get you a AI that helps you with your taxes, and that's still going to be cheaper than paying for H&R Block. That's still going to be cheaper than paying for your average every day of the mill tax rep. You know, but still in all, you've got to know when to say no. So yeah, it's true. No is no. But one of the first things you got to do when you're trying to build your fortress, you have to have clarified goals. And this is going to be the most important step. And it has nothing to do with numbers. It is about defining your why. Why are we doing this? What are you working towards? Get specific. Don't just say, I want to be wealthy. Does that mean retire at 50? Does that mean travel for 6 months, pay your kids' education so they graduate debt-free, build a $10,000 emergency fund so that you can sleep at night? Write that shit down. What are you doing all of this work for? Divide these goals into short-term 1 to 3 year goals, mid-term 3 to 10 year goals, and long-term 10 to 20 year goals. Then when your goals are clearly defined and emotionally compelling, they become an anchor that makes it why it's easier to resist impulsive splurging. Step number 2 is going to be map your current situation, because you can't get to your destination if you don't know where you're starting from. This is about creating an honest, judgment-free snapshot of your financial life. So you need 4 key numbers. Your income, and that's all of your income. Your primary job, your secondary job, your probation officer, child support, alimony, whatever the fuck you got, restitution, anywhere that you got money coming in from, your income. Your expenses, whatever you got to pay for, drug tests, DUI classes, high-ass insurance costs, your girlfriend, whatever it is. Your assets, the stuff that you own, and stuff that brings you additional money. And your liabilities. And there's going to be a difference, because your assets are going to be things like rental properties, but liabilities is things like your mortgage, right? You got to get all of this stuff together. That got to play on some sheet of the music. What? Oh, you got to play on the same sheet of music. Oh yeah, that's right. Now, with your income, how much money comes in each month? And this is going to be presumably after taxes, because while we understand that we're going to spend whatever we get in, those of us that owe taxes, we have to take a larger chunk of money out of our pocket at some point during the year and put it on taxation. For those of us that get refunds back, we don't really care about it, but you have to look at how much money that you have coming in after taxes. And you don't want to include your refund, because your refund is not guaranteed. Then you want to pay attention to your expenses. Where is all that money going? Track your spending for a month. Track your spending for 3 months, because you might have some things that you don't spend on a monthly basis. If you pay your car insurance once every 6 months, you might not count that in your monthly spending unless this is the month that you're paying for your car insurance. But you want to count every month how much money you're spending and where's all the money going, and be brutally honest about it. Then when you check your assets, what do you own? Stuff that you don't got to pay notes on. Cash and savings accounts, retirement accounts, major investments. Liabilities include what do you owe money on. List out every single debt: credit cards, student loans, car loans, your mortgage, child support, alimony, your girlfriend, all of this stuff. Special shout out to Mr. Pillow. How you doing, buddy? You want to make sure that you know the interest rate for each one of these. And that can be very scary, but knowledge is going to be power. Once you have this map, you are no longer operating in the dark. Step 3, you're going to prioritize your actions, because now that you have your goals and your map, it is time to create a plan of attack. While the specifics depend on your exclusive situation, a proven order of operations for most people are going to look a little something like this. You're going to build a starter for emergency funds, and your first priority is going to be a small buffer. You want to aim to save between $1,000 and $3,000 as quickly as you can without hurting your everyday operations. And this is going to be for true emergencies only. This is going to be either money in a safe at your house or money in a savings account at the bank. You want to write everything down, because that actually helps you when you do your taxes. Then you want to attack that high interest debt, stuff that hasn't gotten charged off. This is anything with an interest rate above 7 or 8%, like credit cards. These debts are financial emergencies. Use either the debt snowball method, which is paying off the smallest balance first for psychological wins, or the debt avalanche method, which is paying off the highest interest rates first to save the most money every month. But you pick one and be relentless about it. Knowledge is power and money is the muscle. Well, I would want to say that knowledge is power and taking action on that knowledge would be the muscle, and then money would probably be the reinforcements, because you could do a lot with no money. You could do a lot more with money, but there's a lot of stuff that doesn't require money to get done. You just had to put in the effort to get it done, like filing your taxes. Doesn't have to cost you $1, but if you didn't file your taxes yet, you know that it's tax season and you know how to get it done. You just have to put forth the effort to get out there and go do it. Now, when you build a full emergency fund, once the high interest debt is gone, and you grow your emergency fund to cover 3 to 6 months of whatever essential living expenses you have, this is going to be your real protection against job loss or major unexpected costs like furloughs and government shutdowns. Then you want to invest for your long term. You want to start investing in at least 15% of your gross income for retirement, using tax advantage accounts like 401ks or IRAs first. And I mean, you can do it ass backwards, and you can do what we do, and we go for the high interest 20% brokerage account, and then take the money from the brokerage account and put it into a high interest savings account, not a high interest savings account, a health savings account, which is a tax advantage account. And then you can take some of your profits from your brokerage account and go into your Roth IRA and your 401k. But one of the two things that you definitely need is a health savings account, because if you're paying for health insurance down the line and medical expenses out of your health savings account, prescription glasses and everything to that effect out of your health savings account, that's going to be tax exempt money, versus brokerage account that's going to be taxed. So if you got a 401k or a Roth IRA, you want to be able to put some money into your Roth IRA and your 401k, but you also know that your primary brokerage account that you have more control over can probably generate a larger quantity of revenue. It's just going to generate a larger quantity of taxation. Then you want to save for midterm goals and pay off low interest debts. So while your future is secured, you can now aggressively save for that house down payment or pay down your mortgage ahead of schedule. And when you're debating between high interest investments and paying off your mortgage, You might decide, I'm going to put most of my money into the principal of my brokerage account and then take the dividends from my brokerage account and put it onto my mortgage so that I can tax exempt some of my brokerage money and build my brokerage while paying my house off faster, so that by the time I finish paying off my house, I've got all of this extra capital sitting over here at my brokerage account. It's doable. It's doable, because if you're putting away 100,000 and you're getting back 20 grand, and you're putting 20 grand on top of the money that you're already paying into your broker, your mortgage, you're adding an extra 20 grand onto your mortgage. And if your house is a $200,000 house and you're paying 24,000 a year plus a 20 grand from the brokerage, you're paying 2 years for every 1 year that you pass by, because you put 100 grand into your brokerage account. So there is a way where you can maximize your profits and pay down your mortgage faster, which still benefits you. It still benefits you. Then your house is paid off. If you need to mortgage your house in order to renovate it, or mortgage your house to buy an extra rental property, you can actually do that now because you have more assets. That's not something that other people can accomplish. See what I'm saying? So these are the things that you need to try to figure out. And once you figure it out, that's when you really start yourself aiming for more and more financial success. Fourth step you're going to do is you want to act and automate. A plan is going to be useless without actions, which is what I was telling Michael, because knowledge is power and money might help reinforce your actions, but taking action is going to be the muscle. It's going to be the key to this. The best way to follow your plan is to put it on autopilot. Automation is the best defense against lifestyle creep. It prevents you from accidentally forgetting to invest the money and then utilizing it on impulse buys. Special shout out to Mango, MIA night owl. I guess you can say I'm a night owl. I've always worked overnight for the last 25 or 30 years. It's easier to work overnight because there's more money able to be made overnight. So I guess I could say that I'm a night owl. If things happen where I was getting paid to do the podcast in the daytime, I'd probably be a daytime owl. That depends on what country I'm in, because if I go to the Philippines, it's daytime right now. So this will be a first thing in the morning podcast. But in the United States, yeah, I would say I'm a night owl. So you want to make sure that you set up automatic transfers from your checking accounts every paycheck. Transfer it to a high interest savings account, then transfer that to your retirement account, so that you've got some going into savings, but you got some going into retirements. And truthfully, you want to make sure that you are bringing in certain quantities of money in certain places, and then having it able to be accessed automatically when it is needed, so that you're not at a loss. So for example, if your mortgage is automated, if your car insurance and everything is automated, you want to have next month's bills in the bank account this month. That way, no matter what happens with your deposits next month, whatever they're looking for next month is already sitting there, so it can just automatically come out. That's probably one of the better ways when you're setting up auto pay for bill pay. Some of your nest egg is like $5,000 or $7,000 worth of savings for the automatic payments that are going to be coming out when they auto charge on whatever day the mortgage or whatever. Automation is very important. Extra payments towards your debt is going to be another thing. By paying yourself first, you make savings and invest. It removes the willpower from the equation. Then you take it a step further, because every time you get a raise, automatically increasing your savings rate before you even get to use the new income prevents you from having lifestyle creep. Your raise, your promotion, your bonus, it gets automatically invested. Whether you're paying down debt faster to clear up your credit to help you buy that house, or if you're advancing your brokerage account and advancing your portfolio so that you have more generational wealth or revolving income coming in from your brokerage account. Then step 5, you want to review and adjust what you're doing on a yearly basis at the very least if you're not going to make quarterly adjustments based on the stock markets. Your life isn't going to be static, and your financial plan shouldn't be either. Life happens. You might lose a job or get injured or break up with somebody or get a divorce. You have to set a date once a year at least to review your plan. If you're in a relationship with somebody else, you need to review this plan at least every quarter. You want to be able to double check the success once a month. You want to, the more you micromanage it, the less likely you'll fuck it up. You got to ask yourself, are your goals the same now as they used to be when you first started doing this? Has your income changed since you first started doing this? Whether you got more money or you're making less money because you quit from one job and had to start over at another. Do you need to adjust your strategy for any reason? This annual check-in ensures that your financial fortress remains strong and currently is aligned with your current lifestyle. This 5-step framework isn't magic, but it is a proven path to financial immunity. And this is not just a one-size-fits-all. This is a uniquely structured outline that allows for any person with any income, with any investment experience, with any type of debt experience, to be able to curate starting from step 1 and work their way through to step 5. Because you don't have to build the brokerage account on day 1. You can build the brokerage account in 3 months after you've put up your emergency fund. So, but doing this step by step puts you in a position where you're no longer wondering where your money's coming from. Now you're paying attention to how much money you've got and how much more you can get. You start prioritizing that end goal, because if you want to have a house that you own, where your landlord's not throwing you out because you got a new landlord, they're not throwing you out because they're restriping the parking lot in your complex, they're not renovating your apartment and now you got to move somewhere else. You own this place as long as you pay the notes on time. You've got a permanent house. That is a golden experience to have. And if you were the kind of person that says, well, my long-term goal is to live in another country, but I still want to keep my house in America, fine. Your primary goal in that scenario, pay off your mortgage before you leave the country. So now, instead of building $30,000 to go live in the Philippines for 3 months, you're instead paying off your mortgage first, and then taking the extra money that you don't need on your mortgage and you're spending that on your standard of living in another country. Because if you own your house, all you have left is property insurance if you're going to have it. Not a mandatory thing, but I'd recommend that you get it just in case the house burns down while you're not there. And then you're going to have your utility bills. But if you're moving out of the country for a year and you own your house, you could always rent it out. You could rent it out to somebody else and then buy another place when you come back or before you come back, and then pick it up when you come back, because that tenant is paying on the mortgage for the other house. You could keep your first house, mortgage your first house to get the rental property and have the tenant paying for the rental property and the mortgage, so that when you do come back, you've got 2 places. The one you're living in and the one you're making extra money in. It all depends on how you want to live your life. The most automated lifestyle that you can have is the best one for you. This is going to be systematical moves from switching you from a reactive anxiety to a proactive control lifestyle. So let's go back over this one last time. That way we can drive this home. If your neighbor pulls into the driveway, you're admiring their new car, but this time it's different. You see a car, you acknowledge it, but you don't feel that familiar pain. You don't have that envy. You don't feel that nagging sense of falling behind. My guy says, after paying off debt and mortgage, you should invest in gold and silver as base investments. That's a good idea. You could invest in gold and silver. Um, if you can actually build a portfolio, and a portfolio is not just one investment opportunity; it's everything that you invest in. But you should invest in gold and silver, more silver than gold, because when gold does catch up, when silver catches up to gold, you're gonna, because they're both in the same quantity of demand, you'll see that the prices of silver are gonna skyrocket. But that's not gonna happen anytime soon. But it's cheap. Silver is like 10% of the value of gold right now, roughly, give or take. So buying into gold and silver is a fantastic way to add onto your portfolio to guarantee growth. Buying into a um, dividend paying brokerage account is a way to generate reoccurring revenue that you can live off of. You want to have both of those. Um, then, if you want to go into more volatility, if you wanted to get into cryptocurrency, you could. You could buy into Bitcoin and ETFs and other such things. But that you're using the profits from your brokerage account to buy into these other investment opportunities. But your brokerage account is what's really paying you all that extra money. So if you built your brokerage account to $250,000 or $1,000,000 after you've paid off your house, you own your house, you're getting 100,000 a year, you have a $40,000 a year lifestyle because you own your house. That's a very expensive lifestyle if you own your house and you're still spending $40,000 a year. But if you've got 100,000 or $150,000, it's easier to take $60,000 and buy into gold and silver. Or it's easy to take 50% of your money, reinvest it into the brokerage account so that the brokerage account continues to grow, and then take the other 50% of your money and pay for gold and silver, or take 25% put into gold and silver, another 25% put it into Bitcoin. You can easily, with that type of portfolio, leverage that $1,000,000 portfolio for $700,000 to go and buy a house or an apartment complex cash up front, and then use that apartment complex as a rental property, so that that rental property pays you more money, so that you can utilize that money to buy the gold and silver that you need, or buy you more rental properties. There's a lot of different ways that you can do this. If you have a real estate investment business, especially if you switch up to a C corporation and then you start up a real estate business in Japan, where you're buying properties in Japan for the cost of the land, where taxes is like $800 for the whole year, and you buy it and build up on it. And now you can take that $250,000 worth of assets, that profits that you're getting from your assets, and build rental properties in Japan and utilize that as the tax deduction towards the international income that you're making. And now you're living in different countries that you're building rental properties in. And any country that you're capable of putting $750,000 into is more likely to give you residency and a visa and citizenship, dual citizenship, where you keep your American citizenship and you can get citizenship in multiple different countries around the world, where your travel is not limited by people who have reciprocity with the United States. You can travel to one country and use their visa to travel to the next. That way, if you had good standings with South Korea, you could go to North Korea. If you really wanted to, I wouldn't try that, but it's still possible. But yeah, it's always a good idea to invest in more stable environments. It's good in investing in the S&P 500 index. It's always good to buy into stable, consistent growth. Buy into all of the utilities, water, electricity, solar. It's always good to invest in these things, because it's going to continuously gain value over the years. Your overall portfolio will end up being closer to 10% when you go from having high volatility to high stability and high growth. The less volatile your portfolio gets, the less return you're going to get off of your growth. But if you're buying a growth account, Tesla, Netflix, Oracle, and you're buying all growth, you're going to still see the growth. You just have to leverage the growth with a installment loan against the portfolio, as opposed to getting paid dividends. Now, for somebody who says, well, I want to live debt free, instead of leveraging your portfolio, a growth portfolio, and then getting the money to pay for it, if you had a brokerage account that was paying 80 or 100% dividends, and you only borrow enough money where your monthly payments are covered by the brokerage account, you can actually start buying stuff cash up front, where the asset is separate from the debt. And then the brokerage account is paying the debt. And if your standard of living is not part of the monthly payments, you're good to go. Now your brokerage account is paying off a loan and you can claim that loan on your taxes. So instead of you feeling anxious, you start feeling quiet senses of calm and confidence by being able to build your own personal success, because you know something that they probably don't. You know that while they did buy a depreciating asset, finance it with debt, your money is hard and it is working, and it is going to be working on your system. It's going to be building a future that you designed for yourself, where you have comfort, you have wealth. You will see the car for what it is, which is a choice, and it is a choice that reflects a different set of priorities, and you are at peace with your own choices, right? The battle against keeping up with the Joneses is not fought on your neighbor's lawn or on your social media feed. It is an internal battle between external validation and internal conviction. So, far too long, we've let society convince us that wealth is something that you can show, or that you even need it to show. But today you know that the truth is, real wealth is the freedom that you have when you have nothing to prove. We've dismantled the illusion of wealth. We've explored the psychological traps of lifestyle creep, and we've laid out a clear 5-step framework to build your immunity. The power is now in your hands. You can choose to stay on the financial treadmill, running a race that you can never win, or you can choose to step off and walk your own path. Stop letting your neighbors or your friends or strangers on the internet secretly make you broke. Define your own version of a rich life, a life built on your values, not theirs, and build your fortress. Automate your success and find the profound peace that comes from knowing that you are in control of your own financial destiny. That is a feeling no new car can ever buy. Now, if tonight's show helped you in any way, please give it a thumbs up. Hit that like button, subscribe for more content on building real wealth, and share it with somebody who might need to hear this message. And let me know in the comments, what is one of the steps that you are going to take this week to start building your own financial fortress? I got to tell you, look, 2.5 hours in, we crush this every week. And I want you guys to know that, ladies, as long as the situation doesn't make sense, I'm going to keep asking you ladies to make it make sense. So ladies, please make it make sense. But fellas, I give y'all this information to help y'all become higher value men. So when you start finding the things in your life that you don't like, that are inside of your control, you can put forth the extra effort to change it. And then navigate around the things in your life that you cannot control. And ladies, while this is a male-driven podcast from the male's perspective, you too can make yourselves higher valued individuals by prioritizing your 20-year plan and then putting forth the effort to get to that plan. And along the way, you might find somebody with similar values and similar interests where you guys can work towards the same goals and get there twice as fast. But it requires a change in your logic, change in your judgment, change in your impulses, and motivation for long-term success. Now, I want to thank everybody for coming to tonight's show. I'm your host, Xander, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. And I'll see you guys tomorrow night.
My network is my net worth. Choose your company wise. Surround yourself with eagles, not with sheep in disguise. Every interaction is a reflection of my brand. Quality over quantity, that's my personal command.